Good morning, gentlemen. All right, welcome to another Friday workshop. Weekend's just around the corner. And let's see, looking at the names in the room here, there is a name here I don't quite recognize off the top of my head. Actually, I think I do, but just in case, let me just check and see if there's anybody new to the workshops or fairly new here. Yeah, so my question really is, would you like to hear the workshop introduction? All right, so the workshop introduction is I'll explain what we do in these workshops and more importantly, what we do not do in these workshops. All right, and then secondly, I'll explain how the recordings work. So if you ask a question, you'll know how quickly you can watch that recording. And then lastly, third thing is I'll explain what custom indicators I can install into my NinjaTrader in case you have a question about a custom indicator there. All right, so if anybody would like to hear the workshop introduction, let me know, and I'll get that out of the way first. All right, so it looks like some questions are coming in here, so great. Yeah, I was a little worried about that, so I thought I was going to have some emailed in questions, but that didn't happen. But it looks like you guys have plenty of questions for today. All right, and just a moment, kind of moving a couple of windows around on my screen here, so just a sec. There we go. Well, yeah. All right, well, I don't see any takers on the workshop introduction. So let's see what Farrell has here. So give me a moment to kind of read through these questions. And just in case, yeah, if there is anybody new in the workshop, use the Q&A window for these workshops. All right, so the chat window is disabled. So I use the Q&A window because that's exactly what this workshop is for, asking questions and for me to give you answers. So yeah, so Farrell has a question about specifically controlling, the number of contracts in each trade here based on previous trades that have occurred that day. So the answer to that is no. No, Blackbird is not that complex. And yes, setting up something like that, man. Yeah, let's see. Let's get Blackbird open here. Yeah, so just to be clear, the answer is no. And I would imagine that setting something like that up in the money management here would require, and let me just grab a stop loss here. And go to the trailing actions. It would require an interface, something similar. Now, I'm just giving this a quick think off the top of my head, so it might be a little more complicated than this, but yeah, it would require something similar to setting up like a whole trailing rules type of interface, where you could pick the conditions and then determine whether you're adding more contracts or subtracting more contracts, and yeah, something similar like that. So Yeah, so not at this, yeah, so nothing like that in Blackbird. So what does exist here is me cancel, go to the money management here, and based on the P&L here, let me just put this on manual, so based on, let's see, let's just put in 10 grand, based on that, you could set a risk per trade there, right? And the default there is 2%. And so that will scale up, the number of contracts to get to a 2% risk. And of course, that, how do you know what your risk is? Well, it's based on your stop loss there. Right. But yeah, nothing like that based on counting the number of winners and losers. So let's see here. So let me continue on and see if there's other questions that Farrell has. Yeah, all right. So the second part of the question is, yeah, if there's no automated way, yeah, is there a manual way to do that? And absolutely. So yeah, reading the second part of your question here, what can be done is, and let me turn that off here, right? So using the top half, right, where you have your basic metrics here, what you could do is, let's see here, next, is you could enable the max consecutive losers and set that down to 1. So that way Blackbird stops trading, or actually instead of consecutive, let's just do max number of losing trades there. I guess, whichever one of these, oh, sorry, that's 20 trades. So you could decide kind of which one of these you would like to use, something like that there, or maybe both, right? Mix and match. And so what would happen is one trade would fire off, right? And that trade is either going to be a winner or a loser. And then Blackbird will disable itself, right? The auto trader turns off and it won't take any more trades until you go into the money management and turn it off, or increment the values there, right? And then also you have full control over the number of contracts there. Or alternatively, we could leave that off and let's see here, and just and so when it takes a trade, right? So when it takes a trade, then just disable it yourself, and then just open up Blackbird real quick, adjust the number of contracts, as you see fit there, and just click OK, and then when the next trade, and then enable it again, and then the next trade occurs, manually disable it, right? So you could obviously manually enable and disable the trade, or as I as first said, you could manually use these settings here, right? Just knock them down to 1. So, if you're using max number of trades there, obviously you have to keep incrementing that right there. So that's a little more, although, yeah, if you're using consecutive wins, then, if the last trade was a win, then, yeah, you would have to increment that. But if the last trade was a loser, then you don't need to increment the winners. You need to increment the losers. So, right, 6 or half dozen the same, kind of whatever, just whatever you kind of prefer there, whichever makes more logical sense, easier to understand and follow, in your mind. So, yeah, so there's always that option there. And then just go in and control the number of contracts right there. So, and let's see here. All right, so it looks like Farrell might have a follow-up here. Let's see, is there a way to do it manually in the sidebar? No, there's no money management sidebar here. So, yeah. So, the performance side panel here just provides you metrics, right? The statistical metrics that NinjaTrader calculates there. So, right, so this is just data coming from NinjaTrader, kind of like, some of the data that comes from when NinjaTrader calculates your strategies, performance there, real-time performance there. So, yeah. So as far as getting to money management, actually setting money management rules up, you do have to open the interface. But keep in mind that Blackbird will trade while the interface is open. All right, so while in the middle of a trade, you can have Blackbird open off to the side, and as soon as that trade concludes, then you can just open up the money management, make whatever changes you want there, and then I better turn all this stuff off so it doesn't interfere with any future questions I might have. Yeah, go and do your adjustments, right? So it's ready to go as soon as that trade concludes. Adjust the number of contracts there, whatever it is, and then click OK, and then Blackbird will. So keep in mind, you do have to click. You do have to click OK, and then Blackbird will adopt those new settings for the next trade there. All right. So it sounds like the question is, since this is a scalping system, depends on how fast that scalping, how often, how frequently that scalping system is trading as to whether or not, you can adjust things. But you can see it's it is pretty darn quick, to get in here and adjust a number, click off and click OK, and there you go. You're good to go. So, yeah, like so. All right, well, I don't see any other follow-up questions here from Farrell. So, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say about that topic. So, all right, so let me move this off to the side and see, put that away. And that away. There we go. All right, so Jared is up next, and it looks like he has a two-parter. All right, so give me a moment to read through this. Yeah. All right. So, first question from Jared is simply, can Blackbird or Bloodhound read colors? No. NinjaTrader has not made that possible. Yeah, simply put. But also, even if NinjaTrader made it possible, there's almost an infinite number of colors. So, computers, you can't tell a computer, hey, if the color is bluish, it means this. If it's reddish, it means that, right? Yeah. So, that's probably the main reason why NinjaTrader hasn't really made it possible to read other indicator colors or bar colors, in real time. Because, right, colors are fully adjustable, and that means any other indicator or strategy trying to read that color also, right, has to be adjusted as well. So, but simply put, color reading is not possible. And I don't think NinjaTrader would ever make it possible. That seems like one of the, I know for us humans, it would be great. It seems to make things very simple, but from a programming standpoint, it's futile. Yeah, let's put it that way. So, all right. And question number 2 here. Yeah, let me get Blackbird open here for this one. All right, part 2, or second question. So, question is, all right, so Jared is trading using a stop entry there. And as anybody who's actually traded live markets knows, especially on the NQ, markets move so fast that by the time everything gets calculated and the order gets submitted to your broker, that the market's already moved past your entry point, and NinjaTrader rejects it. Why NinjaTrader rejects it? That's really the problem. That's just ridiculous. No broker, well, actually, it's not true. Apparently, the reason why NinjaTrader rejects stop orders on the wrong side of the market is because there is a broker out there who doesn't do that. But that is the exception in my experience, not the case. Stop orders, at least a stop market order, should become a market order if it's on the wrong side of the market. That's always been my experience in all of my trading. So really, this is, my opinion, a issue created by NinjaTrader for some reason. But again, the question is, when trying to place a stop, above the bar, high or low, depending on your trade direction, can you convert it to a market to get around this self-inflicted issue with NinjaTrader? And well, we could do the automatic enable, but that puts in a stop limit there, not a stop market order. So the answer to the second question is, can you get Blackbird to submit a stop or market order? Unfortunately, no. So, but if you are trading cash, so the fact that NinjaTrader rejects this order, I haven't traded live using a stop entry with a cash account in quite some time, but I'm pretty sure, depending on your broker, just when you're using a live cash account, I'm pretty sure NinjaTrader just pushes it through. I think it's only with Ninja's SIM accounts that NinjaTrader rejects it. So, so again, this could be a mute problem that you're trying to solve there. only because you're using the sim account. If you could get a paper trading account from one of the brokers, then I think that will solve your issue. So, because paper accounts, as far as NinjaTrader goes, paper accounts trade just like a live account, right? Because NinjaTrader's not determining internally whether an order got filled and at what price and all that stuff, right? So live accounts, paper accounts, right? NinjaTrader has nothing to do with whether an order gets filled. It's the broker, right? So the broker determines at what price an order got filled and then feeds that data back to NinjaTrader. Right. Yeah. So I've been asked this question many times, especially after NinjaTrader implemented this rejection of stop orders with NinjaTrader 8. Right, this was never a problem with NinjaTrader 7 rejecting stop orders. And yeah, I'm just kind of thinking to myself if there is another workaround, but yeah, but no, there isn't as far as I can, as far as I can tell. Yeah. All right. Yep. No, there's no workaround to that self-imposed wound by NinjaTrader. All right. So let's see. Let's put Jared's question away here. And all right. Looks like Milroy's up next. All right, so it sounds like, Milroy has a question about moving a stop loss in incremental steps based on, right, obviously the amount of profit that the market would have hit, right, during the trade based on, obviously stop losses trail based on unrealized profit there. So, all right, so let's set this up here. All right. So let's get rid of that stop loss, and I'm just gonna start with a blank one here, blank stop loss. So let's go in and let's see, I don't have a starting point for that stop loss here. So I'll just plug in whatever, 100. So, all right, so the question isn't really about where the stop loss starts. The question is about setting up the trailing rules here. All right, so let's enable the trailing rules. And then let's add a trailing rule. All right, so this will be our break even at 125 ticks of profit, obviously. So, and so the trigger here, will be, so we could either use the interval, or we could use the profit or loss here, either one. So the quickest way is just going in using the interval there and enabling the ticks of movement, or if you'd like, you could use points of movement, right? But let's see here, Melroy's question's in ticks, so we'll just leave it on ticks and then plug in the desired profit amount, which is 125. And, right? So there's our condition, waiting for the market to move in a profitable direction by at least 125 ticks. And then the action will be to move our stop loss to break even. And of course, what is break even? Well, it's the entry price. There we go, entry price. And let's see here. So Melroy, there is a component here where you say, all right, move stop loss to break even of 25 ticks of profit. So I'm guessing you mean break even plus 25 ticks, as it's commonly referred to. So yeah, so if you want to add a certain profit buffer to your moving to break even, right, we could just put that in right there, 16 ticks there, all right? So, and that's all it takes, is just like that. And then also we could also update the name there so that we know it's a break even plus 16 there, plus 16 ticks, right? So at least that's the naming convention I like to use there. It makes sense to me, but obviously use whatever makes sense to you there. All right, so that's the first stop loss trailing rule there. And since the repeat is set to none, obviously this is only going to happen one time, but at the same time you can only move to break even once, right? So and then the second rule here is we'll now double the profit amount, double the unrealized profit seen during the trade. So let's go to interval again, and this time we'll put in 250 ticks, right? And then move that stop loss to, let's see, 120 ticks. All right, so once again, it's going to be 120 ticks above the entry price. So put in 120, and there we have it. And so now, if we stretch this out, there we go. Well, let's see here. Usually I don't use break even twice in my naming convention, but I guess This might be a little easier to read. Okay. Yeah, all right. So there you go, Melroy. It's just that simple. And also just, just to clarify here and show, you don't have to use the interval here. So if you'd like, we could go down to the profit or loss and then, set everything up as such. Ticks, enable that, and we'll put in 250, right? So, all right, so the trigger, right? This trailing rule triggers on a profit in ticks of 250. And there we go. So, all right, well, let me move on to the next question here from Anonymous. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I kind of recall something, yeah, about questions coming in about using an ATR greater than or less than. Yeah, if the ATR is too large, then don't take the trade. But I need more information. So whoever wrote that question, I kind of need a little more information. Because that question was asked and tackled in two different ways there. So I need more information to narrow down which way did not work. So, and let's see. All right, so let me put Milroy's question away. And all right, so I'm at the end of the list. And we're just past the 30-minute mark. All right. Wow, I thought all those questions would take a little bit longer there, but no, apparently not. So, yeah. All right, well, let me take a look and see who's in the room here. Well, I recognize most of the names here in the room, but there's one I don't recognize. So, since I'm waiting on the next round of questions to come in here, let me just double check here to see if anybody is new to these workshops or fairly new to these workshops. And the question is, would they like to hear the workshop introduction? All right, so I'll explain what we do in these workshops, what we do not do, and I'll explain how the recordings work, second point. And then third point, last point, is I'll explain what custom indicators I can install into my machine here, all right? So if anybody would like to hear that workshop introduction, let me know. And I'll get that done while I'm waiting on the next round of questions to come in here. All right, so I'll just repeat myself one more time here in case, somebody stepped away and didn't hear me. I'm just waiting for the next round of questions to come in here. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna just mute my microphone here. Well, I'm beginning to kind of think here that everybody has gotten their questions out right at the beginning of the gate. So I'm gonna start the timer here, and I'll give everybody at least 10 more minutes here to get some more questions in. And all right, and so as I speak, looks like Randy has got a question here. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, all right. So Randy has a question about setting up a 5 tick incremental or 5 tick stepping stop loss there. So only trail the stop loss every 5 ticks of profit. So all right, yeah, let's set that up here. So all right, so let's clear that one out. And let's go start a new one. All right, so the initial placement will be 100 ticks. So let's see here. Let's go the tick based quick list here, and I'll just go to the 40 tick. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'll just go with the trailing one. Neither one really offers any advantage here. All right, so let's go back to the options tab into the initial placement. All right, so we just need to adjust that to -100, like so. There we go. 100 tick initial stop loss, and then go back to the trailing rules. So we're not doing a standard trailing, right? Standard trailing is just like Ninja's ATM trailing, right? Tick by tick. So we're going to switch this to custom. And then we'll add a trailing rule. And so the action is going to be, so since this will be basically 100 tick trailing, right, we're going to put in again -100 ticks, right? And stop losses basically are trailing based on the last price there. So the last highest, highest high there. And the repeat, this is where you control how often it repeats. So we're going to set this to indefinitely. So just about most trailing rules where the rule is actually constantly trailing, they're always going to be set to indefinitely here. But here we said we have a repeat every, so we can increment that up to 5, or whatever the stepping distance is, right? Whatever the incremental movement of the market is that you want. So if you want your stop loss to only step every 10 ticks of profit, there you go, like so. But I'll lock this down to 5. And then, obviously not bars, but we want it to move based on ticks of movement there, right? So now, either one of these will work. So ticks of movement in either direction, fine. Profitable direction, fine. Now it should be kind of clear that ticks of movement in a loss direction, obviously that's not going to do anything, right? Your stop loss will never move there if you pick that one by accident. So, so we'll just go with ticks of movement in a profitable direction. All right, so obviously, even if you pick either profit or loss, again, stop losses only move in a profitable direction. So, Blackbird just ignores the loss portion there, but it does exist in case you do override the basic fundamental rule of a stop loss, which is only move in a profitable direction. So if you do override that, then that's why this option exists, in case you do override that, right? So you could go to the risk management and you can allow your stop losses to move in the wrong direction. So, so if that is enabled, allowing your stop losses to go backwards, that is why all of these extra options have to exist, because that would be the only way that you could use that, allowing your stop loss to widen, is by checking if the market goes in a loss direction there. So, but typically you're always just going to use ticks of movement in a profitable direction. So there we go. So it's the repeat here that controls how often how far the market has to move before your stop loss will take another step. So right there. All right, there you go, Randy. Yep, you're welcome. All right, so let me ask, who is the anonymous that asked the ATR question and was saying that it was not working? So, yeah, it says this person will be back soon. So if you are back, I need more information about what is not working exactly, because that question was asked in several different ways, both for Blackbird and for Bloodhound. So again, guys, I just want to re-emphasize, when you ask questions like that, you got to be specific. So yeah, I typically do not answer generic questions like that. So yeah. So all right, well, yeah, so hopefully Anonymous is back and can fill me in on more information on exactly which solution is not working. Yeah. And I'll just say, yeah, so here I am going to kind of speak uh, generically, which over the 10 plus years, we've been in business. When we get comments like this, that, hey, something that you provided isn't working, 99% of the time, somewhere around there, 95, 99, it's in the high 90s% of the time, it's user error. The person, the trader didn't go through and set everything up correctly. They didn't, so to speak, they didn't cross their T's and dot their I's, and it was just a technical mistake on their part where they didn't set something up correctly. Yeah. But anyways, once I know exactly which solution didn't work, then yeah, we can look into it again. Unless, of course, it's the Bloodhound solution. So, yeah, if the Bloodhound part didn't work, then I know for a fact that was just a technical mistake on Anonymous's part. So, all right. Well, so with that, again, I'm gonna reset the timer here for another 10 minutes. All right, so I'll hang around for at least another 10 minutes to see if anybody else can come up with some more questions. And yeah, maybe 10 minutes, I don't know. All right, I can see, yeah, people are leaving the room here. So I guess if the room gets too slim, then I might wrap it up a little sooner. But for now, yeah, I'll set the timer at 10 minutes. Yeah. All right, Charles. Yep. Happy Friday. And yeah, you're in the same group as a lot of people. They just come to come to these workshops just to see if anything new comes along, which sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, right? Yep, there we go. There's that stop loss jumping 5 ticks at a time, which is almost looks like it's moving a tick at a time. But remember, these are 30 tick bars. So 5 ticks on this chart is pretty small. There. 10 ticks stepping should be a little easier to see. And see if we go short this time. Yeah, that NQ moves too fast to even really see it stepping in 10 tick increments. Oh boy. Let's see here. All right, let's get back to the Q&A window here. My calming voice, huh? Well, I think that's hard for an individual to tell, right? Yeah, I did watch an interesting YouTube video again. I mean, I already knew the answer as to why we hear ourselves differently, but yeah. But I did watch a YouTube video recently that went through and explained the mechanics of why when we hear a recording of ourselves, it sounds totally foreign to us versus how we hear ourselves talking. Yeah, yeah. So, all right, let's see here. Oh, maybe Charles actually has a question here. All right, well, thanks, Charles. Yeah, appreciate that. So, yeah, support needs, just like anything, kind of comes in spits and spurts and, cyclical. It definitely has a cyclical nature to it. So, um, yeah, but right now we're doing good. So, right. All right. So, yeah, gentlemen, again, let me just put the call out there. So it's about 3 more minutes or so to get another question in and keep this workshop going. So, yeah, I started the timer about 7 minutes ago. All right. Well, I guess, yeah, so while I'm waiting, if there's anybody in the room that uses TradingView and is interested in sending alerts from TradingView to NinjaTrader, let us know, because I believe we are pretty close. So we're going to launch in March, right? A new product, a what's a good term? A pipeline. Yeah. So this is a new service here that acts as a pipeline, and it will connect TradingView, TrendSpider, and any other web-based charting platform that has the ability to send out alerts, right, via a webhook or URL, right, webhook, and take those alerts and convert them to an actual trade in NinjaTrader. Yeah, so if anybody's interested in sending alert, quote, signals, from TradingView or TrendSpider to NinjaTrader, or even Blackbird, let us know, and we'll include you in our email list once we open the door for the first round of beta testing here. So it's supposed to start early March, I believe, and should go for at least a month of just kind of beta testing, with a bunch of people using the service. So if anybody's interested in doing that, just email support and let us know that you're interested in beta testing the shark signals. So let's see if I can actually pull it up. Yeah, there we go, shark signals. And, oh, yeah, and there we go. We do actually have a wait list on the website. Great, great, great. Yeah. All right, guys, again, I'm just kind of stalling here, waiting for the next question to come in. So looks like we're at that point, but I'll wait another minute to see if anybody has a Blackbird question for me before closing up shop. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Charles, yeah, so it's my understanding that actually you cannot connect your NinjaTrader account directly to TradingView. because TradingView actually is a direct competitor to, what is it? NinjaTrader's Tradovate? I forget what their NinjaTrader's web service is called, but NinjaTrader did purchase that web-based company years ago, and so that is a direct competitor to TradingView. There we go. And yeah, they're just calling it NinjaTrader Web. Come on, Google, give me some better answers here. Well, I may be wrong, but I think it is Tradovate. That's owned by NinjaTrader. Yeah, but again, I could be wrong. I don't know the exact details of that, but I do know. So you may be able to connect your web-based brokerage into TradingView, but definitely not to the desktop client. Yeah. But yeah, I guess one of us here will do some research again, because obviously every company's updating their capabilities, so things are constantly in a state of flux, and boy, yeah, that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of Shark Signals if you could hook up your NinjaTrader brokerage account, directly to TradingView. So let's see here. Okay, yeah. So I know there's so many trade this, trade that. Keeping the name straight is definitely can slip you up once in a while. So yeah, TradingView and Tradovate are two separate companies for sure. So yeah, your brokerage, your NinjaTrader broker, obviously supports both the web based platform and the desktop platform. Obviously they're one broker to serve both trading platforms. So yeah, so there is that. And let's see, yeah, Charles just, all right, yeah, so it is Tradovate, great. Yeah, so if you do have a NinjaTrader brokerage account and you're using the desktop client, then as soon as you open up Tradovate, your Ninja brokerage account should show up instantly. That's my understanding. But Shark Signals has not done anything with Tradovate, so I don't know specifics. I haven't dived into that. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Thanks, Charles. I appreciate that information. We'll have to look into that. So it's an add-on, a Bait Trading View add-on. That's surprising. Being competitors, that is kind of surprising. But yeah, all right. Something we need to investigate. Yeah, I mean, that would put Crosstrade. Yeah, that would put crosstrade.io out of business as well. Seemingly, but who knows? Maybe there's some. I mean, I can't think of why there would be a limitation if your NinjaTrader brokerage is tied directly in through an app. Yeah. All right. Well, good to know. Appreciate that, Charles. All right. And all right. Yeah, so looking at that alternative information, yeah, if you have a broker tied directly into TradingView, you wouldn't be using alerts. Yeah, you'd just be using TradingView to send those trade signals, yeah, directly to your broker. Um, Boy, yeah, the internet's making things a little more complicated, isn't it? Right? Uh, Better, but more complicated for sure. But yeah, I guess, one of us over here will dive further into that, and that way, yeah, we know exactly what's out there. Yep. And yeah, I think the key thing that Shark Signals will will offer that nobody else will offer is Blackbird. So yeah, Blackbird will Blackbird can be used instead of Ninja's ATM here. So that way you can build far more customized order sets instead of just using, the simple NinjaTrader ATM there. So that's definitely one key big benefit here of Shark Signals is being able to use Blackbird. So yeah. Okay. Going through all that just to find out, yeah, that Blackbird is hooked into Shark Signals. Yep. So that's for sure. Um, yeah, no sense in leaving Blackbird sit idle, right? If you got a powerful piece of software, you should try and tie it into as many products as you have, right? So, um, all right. Well, Charles, yeah, thanks for the information, the conversation there. And I think with that, let's see here. Yeah, we lost a couple more people in the room, so and definitely, yeah, it looks like we're all out of Blackbird questions for today. So, all right, so gentlemen, enjoy the weekend. And as you all know, if you have questions, you can always email those into support. And if you want them answered in the workshop, just put, workshop question for next week or whatever. Question for the workshop in the subject of your email there. And that'll let Mike know that you want your question answered in the workshop. All right. Okay, guys. Have a good rest of your Friday there and the weekend. And yeah, I'll see you next round. All right. Bye-bye, guys.